We just want to travel the world, the world, the world, travel the world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Our Offbeat Life. If you've ever thought that traveling full time means sacrificing real friendships, think again. I'm thrilled to be joined today by Cecilie and Jesper Conrad, the dynamic duo behind the Conrad family. They've been living a full life nomadic since 2018, raising and unschooling their four children while building incredible communities around the world. So, in today's episode, we're talking about how they turn strangers into lifelong friends, the tools and meetups that they attend, the international places and practices that help keep them connected no matter where they are. So this is going to be a heartfelt and practical conversation that you won't want to miss. And then jump in afterwards and check out the interview that they did with me on their podcast. This is kind of a two-parter, so you're going to have some fun. Let's jump right in. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, good to meet you.
Well, good to meet
Well,
you.
good to
We just
see you.
talked
Yeah,
for an hour, but let's talk another hour. It's great.
yeah,
I'm looking forward to
exactly.
it. Mm.
So let's jump in for a fun little lightning round. I always like to start things off, get to know you, have our listeners get to know you. So quick, no thinking, water, coffee, soda, or tea?
Coffee. Coffee, definitely.
Yeah, coffee, and yes, it's a new thing for me. Only a couple of years back, I learned to drink it in Italy, the best place to learn to drink coffee, I must say.
Oh, I haven't been in Italy yet, but I have to swear by Colombia. Sorry.
Ooh, I would look
Colombian
forward to
coffee.
try Colombian coffee. I have not been there yet.
How do they take it?
Oh, black where we had it. They usually make it on the stovetop, and it's kind of a drip over, pour over cup. And they showed us how to make it. But we also went to a place called Rakukia, with this plantation, and it was amazing. They cooked it. They taught me things I didn't even know about making coffee. And so my coffee is, I'm more of a snob now than I ever was.
Great.
Perfect.
Why don't we call it geek? It's less judgmental.
Okay, yeah.
So, but that's actually one of the things we travel with, even though we have a van and it's a limited size. We have
It's not one espresso machine.
No,
It's
no,
not two. It's
no.
three.
Oh
Yeah, we have
my!
but we have a full size espresso machine in that we travel. So every time we come to an Airbnb, we take it out. Otherwise, there's just these small machine with pots, and it's not good enough for us.
And then we have the one for hiking.
Yeah, one for hiking, and we have the mocha for on the road, and we have one Nespresso machine, so we get coffee while driving. Oh yes. So that was the
Nice.
coffee answer. I think coffee is the right answer.
Coffee is very right. Maybe it should be the headline.
That is the
We
headline
need
for
the
that.
T-shirt.
And
coffee.
where do you prefer to relax? Pool, beach?
None of the above.
Walking,
Huh.
I think.
Okay.
I really like, we go on family walks. We in a period, we to make sure to remember it, where we were in a more stable place. We were a place for
Yeah.
4 months, and then things can get to every day. We introduced a weekly Wednesday walk, just because
Usually not on Wednesdays, but
no, but it's fun with all the W's. So it was like a weekly wonderful Wednesday walk, wintertime
With
maybe even.
Nice.
wonderful
Yeah,
wonders.
yeah,
No.
yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
No, but we really like the walks because it's a good way to connect and just be. I relax a lot doing it, because while you're walking in nature, you need to be present and aware where you're putting your feet, where you are, and this makes the everyday thought patterns and all these circles you can be into in your mind, they disappear after a couple of hours.
You might
So I really
enjoy
like that.
Australia. We had a lot of good little walkabouts in the bush in Australia. Just driving along the highway, you find a pull off for a really cool little nature park. Just go for a walk in the woods. It's really cool.
Yeah.
All right, cat or dog people?
That's
We have
not
two
a
dogs.
question. No,
And he's
dogs.
allergic to cats.
Yeah. No. Cats. Sorry, everyone. Cats are evil.
I like cats, for the record, but I don't like my husband
I'm
being
very
sick. I
allergic.
like him to breathe.
I actually have tried a couple of times to be present with a cat and try to kind of pet it, and then they just hit me.
They don't like you either. No.
Oh,
No, I think it. I don't understand them. Um, I don't communicate well with cats.
okay, okay. I think
Yeah.
I know the answer to this one, but where do you feel the most alive, city or countryside?
Oh, we differ on that.
So where do I feel the most alive? So my answer would, I can't. It's the same, none of the above. I prefer a beach to a pool, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't relax. I wouldn't prefer. I wouldn't choose it as a point of relaxation. And if you ask me where I feel the most alive, it's a bit like the question, "What's your favorite place?" The answer is the next place, unless I just
Ooh.
arrived in this place. I like the change. That's what I like. I like that I
Okay,
don't have to choose between nature or city. I like that I can get both,
there you go.
and I like both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
very
I'm
cool.
I would say maybe nature, but that's because animals make me really, really happy. One of the best experience I had recently was I met a camel outside at Decathlon, which is not like it was a
In
weird place.
France.
Yeah, there was like, oh, there's a camel, but there was a circus in town, but they grassed them like just locally. And I went over and I had this immense good period together with a camel, and they are the mouth on a camel is just astounding. It's almost like two fingers, their
Yeah.
lips, and it was so fun. As I say, communicating with a camel, and it's not like a belief we can talk a lot, but I what I mean about it is when you are present with an animal, you need to not use words, but be present in your body, and in that sense, communicating with them. So you again get released by the terrorism of your own thoughts when you are in your mind too much sometimes.
I can relate. The first time I met a camel in the wild, I was 21 in the Navy in Bahrain, and it just happened across me while we were walking through the nowhereness of the desert near the Tree of Life, and it was just an amazing experience because these are things you only see in zoos. Uh,
Yeah,
Or at Decathlon in France.
yeah.
all
At
right,
the
there you go.
Catalan front, yeah.
You never know.
You never know. All right, unlimited free flights or a magical go anywhere RV.
And that would be
What divine magic?
Think of a magic school bus. You can just teleport to
if it
wherever you
would
want.
go over
Totally the last
the
one.
last one. Yeah, we
Totally. I
have it
hate
more or less
flying.
now.
I already have that one
Yeah, we
though.
have
So if I
a
can have the other and keep the one I already have,
yeah
both.
we
Yeah.
have a
Now I said none of the above twice, so I can say both now.
yeah.
Oh, no,
So
you're saying
we
both.
started out with a 11-meter bus from 1973 that was very beautiful, and but for all
Very
the
old.
people who are buying buses and being like, oh, I want to convert a school bus, and like I'm just saying, how will you go to the beach? How would you go to the supermarket? How do you drive into a museum? It's a wonderful
Into a
dream, but it's just it's impossible. So now we only have a 7-meter van, which is wonderful, and it's so great to be able to bring your life with you.
Hmm. We had a Toyota 4Runner. We had friends who had the camper vans who could carry way more and go more places than we could. But yeah, having a smaller vehicle, and I wanted to do a van, but having a smaller vehicle, you can get into other places, plus do some of the nature things that are out there.
Yes.
We used to have a 5 meter, so that's more like a standard size car that can park in a normal parking facility in a normal parking space. Whereas the
Hmm.
7 meter now is plus 2 meters, it's the length of a really tall person. For those who
Yeah.
don't do meters, it's more complicated to park. But the kids grew. We're 5 people. One of our kids is really tall, so the 5 meter Volkswagen it became, I mean, it's quite small to be 5 people in a 7-meter van already with 2 dogs, but the Volkswagen, it's this trade-off between how much space do you need inside and how much do you need to be able to move. And yeah, our sweet spot at the moment is the 7-meter thing.
Okay. One thing I found about those RVs and well, the living in the vehicle is you can make the outdoor space your spot too, which is really nice because you as long as you carry the right equipment, you can have
Yeah.
some outdoor space as well. So the inside is not you're not just confined to that unless you're driving. So,
Mm.
but I'm
Mm.
speaking to the choir with you guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, and lastly, time machine moments. If you could go back in time, anywhere, witness any historic event, when and where would you go?
I would have loved to see Michelangelo cut a little on his David statue, I think, or I mean, see someone make art. Some of the ones where you're like, this is so stunning. How could they do that? Hang out in the studio for some weeks and see what they actually did. On
Watch,
our episode, one of the
watch.
things you said that, and people should listen to it also, is your fascination with seeing crafts being done. So that was my first thought, was like being okay, maybe see Mona Lisa being painted could be fun.
That could be, yeah. Or Sistine Chapel, but seeing the roof being painted.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it's the imagine how can you make marble look alive. It probably takes a lot of hours, but if we take more historical events, then I don't know.
I think I could come up with a very long list of events I would have loved to join, like musical concerts that
Oh,
are not available anymore because the artists are dead. So
yep.
I missed out on that one. But I don't really envy.
The past.
All right, well then let's dive in. Um, I'd love to hear to start by hearing one of your favorite stories about connections that you made on the road.
I think the headline story really is that when we started traveling full time, I think we were excited about the traveling part, the exploring the planet part, and we thought, like most people I suspect would think, that the amazing part is all the things you get to see and do, all the mountain tops and zoos and art pieces and cultures and languages and markets, whatever you're passionate about going to see, you're going there and you're seeing it, you're experiencing all these things. But really quickly, like I feel like I don't know, within a few months, we realized, oh, but the real of it adventure is the people we meet.
Hmm.
It's not the places, it's the people. Um, so that was really an epiphany and really a mindset shift that happened very quickly for us.
Was it locals or fellow travelers? Like, what kind of connection did you make so quick?
All kinds of people. Meeting people was the adventure and became the adventure and facilitated and catalyzed the adventure. Meeting people was the goal and the mean, or the way, or whatever you say in English.
Yeah.
It was what created the awesomeness of it. It took a center stage very quickly and was so much more satisfying, appealing, uplifting, interesting, challenging than everything else combined. So
Very.
really, people have been
Uh,
a central part for us all the time.
yes, and I want to mention a thing about what the traveling life have given, and what the choice of a life outside the everyday routines, and in relation to this, it is the time. When we travel to a place, stay a place for longer time, there is two things going on. One is there is a little sense of scarcity, where you know you're only there for a set amount of time, so we want to get the best out of it. That's also the people you're meeting and connecting with. The other part is You are not just visiting in the normal, formal, social, interactive, agreed upon ways. And with this, I mean normal life back in Denmark would most often have been, oh, someone is inviting for dinner, then you come for dinner, and then you do the dinner stuff and the dinner talk, and maybe there's wine, and you get a little drunk, and then you get home, kind of thing. That is a formalized way of being together in some sort of way, where traveling, having time to people coming by, seeing you the next day, or co-living together with them. That's one of my favorites. Is you can start a conversation in the morning, continue it in the evening while brushing your teeth, and maybe the day after again. So that is why I think that we also really enjoy the people, is that I feel time is different while we are traveling together with them than what I lived earlier. I like having this expanded time where conversation can take place over hours or days together with people.
It's funny how it's more and less at the same time.
Yes.
There's this urgency, um, but at the same time, maybe because of that, you go all in, and then there is more time to explore the relation, and also no time for bullshit, no time for small talk, no time for we go straight for the connection. And I think the other travelers do as well, and people we meet who are not travelers but who we meet and really connect with. It's not about this, that, and the other. It's about really, I really like you, I need to learn to speak your language. That's how I learned to speak Spanish. I had a friend, I realized. I met her, and now that could be one of my favorite connecting stories, how randomly I was putting out a message in a homeschool group on Facebook, that we were coming to Spain. We were still in France at the time with the big bus in the beginning. And I just put it in the Global for Spain, which is a quite big country, Facebook group, that we were, but there is a Sin Escuela España group. So it's all of Spain. And that was the only connection to homeschooling in Spain I had at the time. I put out a picture of the bus and us and said, we're coming to Spain. Any home educators, unschoolers who want to meet up, we want to have friends. And I got a lot of messages. The bus is very beautiful, so I think it got a lot of exposure. But one of them hit me like a punch in the stomach. I just knew there was something there. And it was actually a guy writing to me on behalf of a woman who had seen the picture and me in the picture and had a feeling, I need to meet this woman. And when he texted me that, because this woman didn't speak English and I didn't speak Spanish at the time. So he texted me on behalf of his friend. I have this friend, she doesn't speak English. She really wants to meet you. She has a parking big enough for your bus. It's here. Please, will you come? And I felt immediately, I need to meet this woman behind this. I mean, I hadn't even, yeah. And this was so true and so real. And when I finally, 3, 4, it was a long time, or maybe a month later, we arrived in Spain. I finally, and then we were parked there for 3 or 4 days before she showed up. It was a really long process. When I met her, the moment I saw her, I knew she's my friend, but we couldn't communicate, and I needed to learn a language.
And the
So I
bus
did.
never left.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the bus is still there.
The bus is still
I
there.
left. We left.
We left. Yeah. No, we drove it there. We planned to stay for a week. We stayed for 3 or 4 months, and then we left the bus there, returned, had it as a home base for a period of time. It's an animal sanctuary, so it combined so many things, and it was like 6 minutes drive in a car from the beach. So I like you had
If
all
we
of the
had a car.
above. And it was really, really wonderful experience, but it came out of people meeting, people wanting to meet, and it gave us so many great connections in our life.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Wow.
It was pretty cool. And I think
So,
connections really rise from surprising context and in ways that I could not have imagined, and I might still not be able to imagine. I am open to still be surprised how connections appear in this life.
We had a random man walk up to our door, knock on our door, and then it turned into us inviting him in, and we ended up going out on the town with him and his girlfriend and formed this really cool relationship. And we hung out months later. We met up with him in his hometown and hung out with him there, and we're still friends to today. It's just, yeah, random things and connections can happen out of nowhere.
Yes. Yes. Or out of somewhere where I don't know. I don't know if it's nowhere, actually. I can't vouch for
Yeah.
that. There might be a higher purpose behind the scenes that I can't see from this point of view.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right on that one. What about online communities or any communities? What kind of things have you found along the way to help you, your kids, stay connected with family, friends, things like that, or even the new people you meet?
So WhatsApp groups are wonderful. Messenger groups are
Smartphone in your back
wonderful.
pocket.
Smartphone is wonderful. Be real is really nice
Yeah.
because it's a fun way to see where our fellow traveling friends are at and what they're doing more or less in unpolished social media life. But I think that it is about seeing the giraffes out there, meaning to meet other people doing the same or doing what you aspire to. In Denmark, we hosted these homeschool meetups in our house for other people, just for us to have friends coming over, but also to open the doors for curious homeschoolers, people who wanted to see. Because when we met someone who did what we wanted to do, that is where you see, oh, it can be done. In the same way, we went to a World School Summit in 19 in Granada, Spain, and the people we met there, some of them we connected with there, some of them afterwards, more or less online. But it's a community that we became part of, and friends were made. People we met there helped us buy our van. Connections were made, and we visit people years after because oh, we're going to this country. Ah, we met a guy from here. Let's reconnect, see how he is, where their family is at. But then also the World School pop-up hubs or the World School pop-ups that Rachel is organizing is really fantastic because I would say a lot of our teens' social life around being a traveling family. This is where they have met their tribe, met other like them. The only thing is now we almost know too many people who travels. So that's like, oh, we also want to go see these people. We want to go see there, and but it has been a great way of connecting and meeting and reconnecting. We had last winter a 7 month trips. We were in Mexico, met up with different world schooling families. We were in the US, met up with different world schooling families. We went to the UK, more of the world schooling families. That's just that community that has been created around these pop-ups is fantastic. Yeah, it
I
has
say
given us our tribe.
I appreciate the communities around these events that we have been attending. But I just also want to say that I really feel our travels have put us in places with people we needed to meet. And we have had, it's not that I don't recommend going to pop ups and
No, no.
summits and hubs and whatever. I just want to say that we traveled a lot outside of that. It's not necessary. And we have met a lot of great people in other contexts by either reaching out to the homeschool or unschool community, or even just, I mean, if I walk the streets somewhere,
Hmm.
it's pretty clear to see an unschooling family. You can kind of feel the vibe, you know. It's not hard to spot like-minded people. And I think we attract the situations we need to be in. Once we were at La Palma, one of the Canary Islands, for 5 weeks around. It was a longer trip before we became fully nomadic.
Hmm.
And we went to the beach. It was around Christmas, so there were relatively many tourists at the time. We went to one of the few, La Palma is not a good beach island. So we went to one of the actually swimmable beaches, and it was pretty packed. And I put down my bags and my kayaks and sat down right next to someone because that was my only option because it was packed. So I said hi because it's when you're close to other people, you say hi. And we chatted. And what happened was I sat down to one of the 3 home educating family full-time living on the island.
Oh.
What are the odds that you sit down right next to a like-minded in the context of a totally packed beach on
Mhm.
a tropical island in a school break?
Serendipity. Yeah.
I think it's 100% if you need it.
Hmm.
And this is not a singled out story that's the only time it ever happened. It happens a lot. And of course, it also happens and happened in our life that we felt really lonely and we really needed people and we couldn't figure out how to create a space around ourselves where we were socially satisfied. It was frustrating and to a point of really annoyance, actually. But when you get to that point with anything in your life, that's what pushes you to actually do something about it, to sit with what do I really need? How far am I willing to walk to get it? What am I willing to sacrifice? What changes can I make in order to arrive in a state where things are way better? How much work will I put into finding it? And how much discomfort can I hold to cross that bridge if that is what's needed? Those are really important and good questions to ask yourself. And when you put in the work like that, when you realize something is actually really not working in your life, that's also when you find the right way to go. Sometimes it needs that pushback. That's when we found that we didn't find it. We knew about the pop-up hubs, but we'd never prioritized it. It was never really aligned with what we wanted. And that's when we chose to join the castle experience in 2 years ago in France, where we stayed for a month with the pop-up community. And it was completely changed from feeling, because our children were getting older, they kind of needed a different kind of community. It took us what? 6 weeks and it was fixed.
Yeah.
It looked like a huge problem, and then it was an overwhelming success of solution.
But it's a question also about openness and readiness. I've been sitting thinking about how to communicate this, but every stranger is a possible future friend. And there was once my life. I will rephrase this. Sorry, because I said it wrong. That was yeah. It was not my life, but she is my life.
What?
There was once my wife was a stranger to me. I didn't know her. I mean, that is how big strangers can be for you. They can be what your life is centered about.
Hmm.
But walking down the street, it is very often you aren't open to thinking, oh, all these people there, that might be my future. Now I am
You
married,
do
but
not need an
no, no,
extra
no, no,
wife.
no, no, that's not what I'm saying. But
You could not handle that, I
no,
can
no,
guarantee.
no, no, no. But the idea of it, walking down the street, are you ready for the occasional meeting turning into a lifelong friendship, relationship, whatever? We often decide to live these kind of emotional protected lives. Not that I do it, but I can see how I sometimes also, when we meet new people, I'm just like, oh man, I have enough of friends, or I'm not ready. And when I'm in that state, I don't have interesting conversations. They are boring. It doesn't work. If I'm not present in the dialogue and in the conversation, then it doesn't work.
Yeah, and I totally agree with everything you're saying there. And it makes me think of it. My my son, he always gets on to me because I'm always talking to strangers. And we tell our children don't talk to strangers, usually. But I love talking to strangers. When we were in Japan recently, a lady sitting next to me, family of three, we can't always sit together. So I'm sitting next to another lady, and I just started up a conversation with this old Japanese lady, barely speaks any English, but we have an interesting little conversation, somewhat assisted by Google Translate, on a bullet train, and it was really cool. And I do the same thing on airplanes, everywhere we are, and you never know who you're going to meet, how they're going to impact your life, what knowledge you might get from that conversation. I used to refer to the Fight Club quote where it was a single serving friends, but that doesn't do it enough justice because they're needed friends, they're in the moment friends, and yeah, those are the types of connections that we can make while we're traveling.
I also want to say you use the wording lifelong friends, and you've talked about me that I used to be a stranger. Now you have a wife, and but if we are talking about connections and social life and relationships and relations on the road. To me, it's there are 2 points. One is your social cup can be filled by different things, and not all social needs have to be met by lifelong friends you trust completely and where you feel completely safe and you are 100% aligned and you've known each other for 15 years. Some social needs can be met by someone you really like and just met last week, and you're having an interesting conversation about something you're both passionate about, and you get your social interaction and that social muscle, and it's actually interesting and appealing. And then sometimes you need that friend, and that's not, one is not better or worse than the, it's just different things that need to be in the cup. Another thing that we have really learned over the years of traveling is we don't really miss people we're not around. So when we leave, people usually say, oh, we're going to miss you. And we're rude enough to say, oh, we're not going to miss you. We love you, and we're going to appreciate it next time we see you. But I'm not going to spend my time in the scarcity and cavity and lack and loss feeling, because that's not what the relation is about. If you
Yeah.
need me, reach out. If I need you, I'll reach out. We are friends and we will see each other again. We're very good at keeping in touch and coming back and staying in our, at this point, quite many relations we have. But really, we are living a different life than having a neighborhood and a street and, the school and the same people in church or at Boy Scout, whatever. It's a different way the community around us is, and our friendships unfold, and it's all right. It just doesn't look like having dinner every Sunday or going out for drinks every Friday or attending all the birthday parties of your, even my sister's children. I'm not there, but I'm there in a different way, and I'm there in a way that matches and aligns with my lifestyle. And as many of our friends now are travelers, it's not really a problem. Our kids don't need to be around the same friends every day.
Hmm.
They have a community of friends, and they stay in touch with their WhatsApp messages and calls and whatever. And if they don't, it's not a big deal. You don't have to check in every day to be friends. An important moment, by the way, of Be Real has just arrived. And I will do it because
Oh, let's
this is
see.
actually
This is
part of
awesome.
it. It's
Yes,
awesome.
connections.
I'll do it. You will be the Be Real of today, including my feed.
So it is a, for those people who don't know it, it's this fun social media app where you are prompted once a day on a time you haven't decided. It chooses a random time in your region, and then you have 2 minutes to take the picture. So it's kind of give you a, the idea is it needs to be a real moment, but sometimes see
You
people like, oh,
run
I will
over to
run
the
over.
beautiful view.
Yeah, but it's still inside those 2 minutes of your reality. So I'm like, okay, a little edited reality. Yeah, why we want to present ourselves
It's
as good as
actually the
possible.
only social media that I use. And I use it because on this social media, I have a lot of my international friends, a lot of my traveling friends. It's actually really interesting where they are and what they're doing. And I do want to keep in touch, and I'm not going to bump into them in the next supermarket or anything like that. Whereas the other social media platforms, they are overwhelmed by commercials and edited and AI and reels and shorts and bullshit that I don't want to have in my life. So, but this one, we keep in touch with our friends and our children and our children's friends, and
Yeah,
it
that's
works
fun.
for us. So, yeah, you asked about what
That's
media do we
good.
use, and here you
Yeah,
got it.
So that's
there we got it.
connections. Yeah.
Yes, and we got a real life example of it too, which is
Yep,
amazing.
I'm not
Good
going to
timing.
lose my streak over a podcast.
But no, yeah, and I get it. These connections, they're needed in life. You have a social bucket to fill, and it's not something. I don't think you can actually fill that social bucket. I think it can be always added to from a perspective of that way. I don't think I've ever had mine completely filled because there's so many different people in my life who represent different aspects, and I am not the best at staying in touch with people as my friends, my family can say. I'm just not. I don't like to get on a call. I think it's because I was a telemarketer for a long time, and I don't like to make phone calls if I don't have to anymore.
Well, I don't
And
like to make phone calls either. I didn't have your career. I think I don't know. I do like it sometimes, but not too
yeah.
much.
What about your kids' social lives growing up? A lot of times, people that are thinking about this lifestyle, which is a lot of our listeners, they want to know, how is my kid going to keep connections?
So, as I said before, very quickly our travels became about the people, not the places. And we mostly travel for people, not places. That's a big shift that has been made. We travel for people and then we check out the places around the people. It's not like the places are not interesting at all. And we do prefer people who are in good places. No, 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 no. We prefer our people. But of course, well, so that's one thing. We've made sure to, and that is our children's people. Because
Now, earlier it was maybe more where we wanted to
well,
go, but
yeah, they were
now,
they were younger. I
yeah.
mean, so priorities shift all the time, and the only thing you can really trust is change, right? So it has changed. We now have three teenagers, and obviously their social life is what they need to thrive, and so we travel for their social life mostly, unless they say, "Oh, we really want to go to this place," and we're like, "Are you sure?" Because we have no friends there, and they'll be like, "Yeah, let's explore it." So sometimes it has been a little scarce, but then we've done something about it.
Yeah.
That's my best answer.
My answer to it is about the co-living. One of the ways we prefer to travel is living together with our friends in their houses, next to them, being parked outside. And it's not, it is because it's such a wonderful way to be together. If you only have a week or a weekend together, then instead of visiting on a Saturday for 3 hours, we have the whole of the weekend, waking up together, being together in the areas we are here, where we are in Budapest. One of our favorite families, who we have like stops on the way to Denmark. We have some friends in one country, some friends in another, and we step a couple of days the different places. And these friends, we often stop when we're driving to Denmark, stay with them for a weekend to a week or 2 weeks. And now they're coming living with us for 2 weeks. And it's just a really good way of being together. And it's a good way for our kids also to grow the friendship over time. It's a good way for them to get to know each other. Yeah.
You asked how they stay in touch with their friends, I think, or how
Yes.
they create and maintain their social life. And I think we need to understand that really online life is a big deal. It is for a lot of adults and it is for the teenagers. It's a big challenge to figure out how this new technology can be helpful, not hurtful. And we are raising the first generation who grew up with it, I think. Maybe there's half, well, we have a 26-year old, so I think she is probably the first generation that grew up with it. So I feel like I'm in the forefront here. I have to figure it out. And well, we have to figure it out together, my family and all of the families now. It's complicated, but at the same time, it's really great. And when I talk to the teenagers, they say it's not that big of a deal that my best friend lives 6,000 kilometers away, because we chat every day. It's fine. And sometimes we are in real life together, and that has its advantages. And sometimes we are online together, and that's great. And sometimes we don't talk for a week, and actually that's fine as well. They redefine what social life is. And I think we tend to project what was real for us into our children's life. So we realize they need a social life, and we therefore think it has to look like the social life we had when we were teenagers, even though you and we and most of the other travelers broke away from a mainstream life because we didn't want it.
It's true.
We
Yeah.
did not want it. And the disadvantages of the social life I had as a teenager, in the confined space of having to be in a specific school and follow some sort of, there were less options than my kids have. There were also options that they don't have. I get that. But the disadvantages are there, and the advantages of the life that my kids do have are quite immense. So we just have to keep thinking, is this balanced? Is the life we do live better than the one we could have? And of course, we need to check in with our kids. I'm not the one to sit down in the sofa late at night with a little glass of water and decide for everyone. We have communication about it. Do we live our best life? Do we live the life we want to live? Is there anything we need? Is anyone suffering in any way? Is there anything we can adjust to make things better for you guys? How do we unfold this? And sometimes it's really, really hard.
Yeah.
Closing in on impossible. It is, to give them what they really feel they need. And then we have to work with that. Can we tweak this slightly? What do we do about this situation? But I think these contrasts and obstacles, and I'm looking for a better word, udfordringer,
Challenges.
challenges, um, also really, they are opportunities to grow and to fine tune who we are, and to show our unconditional love to each other, and to unfold the beauty of life, and to rise to the challenge of sometimes having to push through to stand up for what we believe in, and become who we really want to be. So
Hmm.
no, it's not easy. I can't tell you, oh, just show up in one of Rachel's hubs and you'll just be all good forever. And there's these 3 apps and that sets it. That's not what it is. But that's not. Do we want that though? Sounds
No, but
boring to me.
it's also, and what you talked about, and where I want to take it is, it's about who have made the construction of your life, who have constructed the life you are living. Um, Often you must have met this as well. It's like, what about the social life of the kids? Yes, what about it? What social life did you construct for them? The person asking this question from the place of a standardized, normal, mainstream life. You have constructed a life where social life is what happens at school or at sports or with your friends' kids. That is what normal social life for kids is. My kids became friends with my friends' kids in
Yep.
Denmark because those are the ones we hang out with. Then they could have a social life with people who they randomly were chosen to be together with based on that they were born in the same area and in the same year. That is a construction. And it's okay to challenge that construction and say, can I construct something else, something better? And I think that we are maybe not doing it better all the time, but we are constructing it differently. We are asking questions to the construction we have made of our life, of our social life, again and again and again. It is not like we're living 20 years in the same place asking ourselves, oh, could it have been different?
Yeah.
We are reconstructing our environment, our life, our social interactions, very often based on asking ourselves and being in dialogue with our kids about, is this a good life?
Yeah. And continuing on that, especially since you have children at a wide gamut of ages, um,
Yeah.
and we've gotten several emails from people asking if we're traveling full time, how are my children ever going to date somebody? We're never someplace long enough. And usually that's coming from some of the people that followed our podcast or our things and asking how does that type of thing happen? And I'm like, well, I don't know. We haven't encountered that situation as of yet.
Okay, but I can answer that on a global level, but not. I'm not sharing my own children's private life.
I,
But on a global level, um,
Yeah.
it's very hard to stop people from falling in love. It's very hard to stop teenagers from exploring romantic life. And it's a bit like trying to stop small children from learning to walk or a bit older children from learning to read. This is a thing that happens. And I see it all the time in the community. It's, let me just say, it's different. It's not impossible. I think it's different in a good way.
yeah, I think that. So first, I want to tell a story of a colleague I had when I worked in Microsoft of all places. You have been a telemarketer. I've
We
worked
will
for
forgive you for
Microsoft, so yeah,
Microsoft.
yeah, yeah. But this guy, the normal talk. So, how did you met your wife? Well, they met when they were 14 in like a live abroad year kind of thing in Denmark on a school, and they were so much in love that she or him, I can't remember who, ended up moving back home to the other, away from his parents. To these kids, they just wanted to be together, and they're still together after 25, 30 years. So love is something you can make space for. Of course it is. Then there's the fun thing I've looked at, which is when I again compare my life, my experiences to the life unschooled, homeschooled, traveling kids are experiencing. One of the difference I see is I actually think that we had in the normal mainstream life, had a forced sexualization and a forced maturity, where here I now see people take it in whatever tempo that works for them, where it was more, you were in this grade, now you needed to start have a boyfriend or something. It was very almost scheduled. Oh, that is the year you start having, if going on dates or something. It's again, I think it's forced, and I think some of the forcedness of it, if that's a word, is that you put people in the same age group, and even though you don't mature at the same time, because there's this common denominator, you think that you need to be like the others based on the same age, and not based on where you are in your own personal
Well, and
development.
also not based on do you actually bump into love or not. It's not a
Yeah,
question of maturity as such. It's also just a question of, did the right person show up in your life? And then of course the people exploring the idea of becoming nomadic would be like, but how will they even meet people? And my answer is just, I think traveling the world will expose you to meeting more people than living in the same place for the whole of your life. If you do the math of it, it's actually more likely to bump into the right one if you move around than if you stand still. I don't know the mechanisms of love, but I feel like that's an odd question. And becoming nomadic and growing up on the road also means learning to form relations in a different way. It's a different culture of forming relations, and I think it's a bit like being unschooler but location stationary. You have a different culture, and if you are traveling and growing up traveling, you meet other travelers and you have a different culture of what a relationship really is, a friendship or a romantic relationship. um even a work professional relationship, it looks different, and it might not feel different, but the way it unfolds, the speed of it, the quality of it, um, and yeah, I'm going to use the word culture again. The culture of it is very different from, and I say this with a lot of respect, but from the mainstream version. So if you're leaving mainstream, you're walking into a different room where things look different, but they are still there. So when we meet people, the friendship form or not form quite quickly. We can decide quickly if we like people, and we figure it out quickly, and so do the children. And if it fills the cup for now and it's fun and it's great, but there's no real connection once you're moving, well, it's fine. It's not like, it's not rude, it's not being mean, it's just whatever. But some of the lines just keep, you know. So how is this a smaller life? It's, to me, it's a bigger life. If it, to some listener who is exploring the idea, looks like a smaller life, maybe to this person it is a smaller life. And we're not all cut out to live the same kind of life. Forming relationships when you grow up nomadic is also learning to be very honest, to be fully present, to know who you are, to decide, not in a judgmental way, but really go for who you like, and share it and unfold it, and jump into it. And we've only been traveling with 3 of our children. The oldest was already, she comes and travels with us from time to time, but she was 18 when we left and moved in with her boyfriend. So, but the 3 others, and all the many kids we've met, of course they have different personalities, and some of them are like this into social interactions, and some of them are more need to feel it a little bit. um, but they all learn. If they grow up nomadic, they adapt to that. If they grow up in the desert, they adapt to that. If they grow up in New York, you learn the lingo of being a New Yorker. And if you grow up in Copenhagen, it's different. And if you grow up nomadic, it's different than if you grow up living in a school situation or a location. It's just different.
Yeah.
It's not less. It's a different kind of more. Does that make any sense?
I think that does make sense, and I think that can help our listeners understand that. I mean, there are a million ways of looking at relationships, and that goes back to your whole social cup thing as well, that traveling like this is its own cup. If you're back in your hometown, whether it's a giant city like New York or a small town in rural Idaho, you're gonna have your own small knit group of places, and most people, they don't really travel too far out of theirs unless they might go on a vacation here or there once in a while to expand. Yes, the internet helps us to already get out there and see people. It's a version of somebody out there that you're getting to know, but traveling, opens that cup up even bigger. Now you're seeing and experiencing more situations, more people, more cultures, and more on a real level than you necessarily would just exploring them through your computer browser or something. So I think the same thing goes for our children's relationships in the future. They'll grow. They'll eventually have to find it out and figure it out on their own based on the way that you raise them through this process of traveling. So
Yep,
I think I think that's it in a nutshell.
it is.
So, and I love your outlook on this, and some of the things that you guys touched on just in that little piece, that little segment alone, take us back to the episode that we just recorded with you and I on your podcast, where we have to do the math. So you have to do the math on all of these types of things. So go listen to that episode so you can hear and understand what that reference is, because really we want to get into understanding where we are in the world and how you fit into it while traveling. So Thank you very much. It's been really cool talking with you all. Before I go, I always like to do a little travel trivia because you're travelers. So,
Yep.
so let's just start with an easy one. How many islands make up Denmark?
400.
Plus.
Plus. Yes. Very good. Awesome. Yeah, 400. The internet says 443 named islands. All right. So, I think you guys have been down to Mexico before, haven't you?
Just once, yeah.
Tijuana is famous for inventing which popular salad?
No clue.
No idea.
The
To me, it's
Caesar
famous for
salad.
that wall. Oh,
The
Oh my
Caesar
God.
salad.
That's fun.
That's a fun fact. All right. The Camino del Santiago, it's famously located in which European country?
walked it twice.
Walked it twice, so we would probably say,
I'd say Spain.
yeah.
Spain, yes.
Yes.
All right. What is considered or recognized as the first UNESCO World Heritage Site founded in 1978 or named in 1978?
I don't know.
I don't know. No.
A Polish city, Krakow.
Oh, it's Krakow.
I've been
Just
there.
been there.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't
been
know
there,
it was
just
the
been
first.
there.
I knew it was among the first 12.
Yep. Last thing. What is your final advice for our listeners considering this nomadic lifestyle?
It's the one I love to give is one we got ourselves from full-time travelers when we wasn't, and they said set a date. When you set a date, you go from dreaming to planning, and I think it's a very simple and profound thing to do. Otherwise, you will always live in the future, where it's a future dream. But if you set a date, the date will near, and you will have to act on it.
Very good. Yeah, don't live in the what ifs. All
That's it.
right. All right. Well, again, thank you guys very much for sharing all of your stories, your wisdom today. Today was a really good wisdom episode. So I appreciate it so much. Again, thank you very much. And if you want to take a second to plug your own podcast as well, this is a great opportunity.
We are hosting two podcasts, one together as a couple. It's called Self Directed, and it's about basically freedom,
Yeah.
breaking off mainstream choices of all sorts. Go listen to that. There's more than 100 episodes, all different styles and kinds. And I host one with other women where we fix the world. So if you think the world needs fixing, then maybe go listen to the ladies fixing the world. We fix it from the point of view of unschooling our children, living a life of respect and unconditional love, and where everything unravels from there into fixing everything else.
Yeah.
And now we really
And
need to
you
say
can
goodbye.
find that podcast online everywhere or on ceciliaconrad.com/the ladies. The self-directed podcast can be found on selfdirectedpodcast.com or on our website, theconrad.family.
Excellent. Again, thank you very much. I know you have to go and take care of her. We'll see you around, I'm sure.
I'll see you
Yeah, it
around.
was
Yeah.
a pleasure. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
We just wanna see something bigger than us, to see and smell and taste something completely new. We just wanna travel the world, the world, the world, travel